At my birthday dinner, no one spoke to me. At dessert, the waiter asked, "Ma'am, is this your card?" It exposed everything. I always thought the saddest kind of loneliness was the kind you feel in a crowded room, and that night at my 78th birthday dinner proved it. They talked around me, over me, through me, as if air filled my chair instead of a living woman. I watched my son Johnny raise his voice so the waiter could hear him say, "My mom? She just lives off the past. She hasn't done anything useful in decades." He said it casually, like one talks about bad weather, but his words sliced through something soft inside me. Donna, my daughter-in-law, wrinkled her nose when I tried to ask whether she liked her meal and snapped, "Can you sit still for once? Every time you move, the whole table shakes." Her disgust hit me harder than her words. Tyler, my 17-year-old grandson, chuckled while scrolling through his phone and muttered, "Careful, Grandma might forget where she is again." I felt my face heat even as I kept my hands folded in my lap. No one spoke to me. Not one person said, "Happy birthday." They chatted about vacations, promotions, football highlights, all the things that had nothing to do with me, while I sat like a prop someone forgot to remove. I kept wondering how I became the shadow in a celebration meant for me, how the people I once fed, clothed, and tended could now behave as if I were an inconvenience they were forced to drag along. Maybe the most painful truth was that I genuinely did not know what I had done to deserve their coldness. Maybe the deeper truth was that they did not need a reason at all. Around the 200th second of silence directed at me, I felt something else rising, the realization that their cruelty was not new, just louder. If you've made it this far into my memory, then you understand the kind of silence that breaks a person long before any words do. If you feel justice deserves celebration, smash that hype button. Let us keep stories like this alive, echoing far, far away. Your support helps us bring understanding and love to those who deserve it. Thank you so much. Keep listening. Johnny laughed loudly at something Donna whispered, and I tried to smile as if I were included, but he caught my expression and rolled his eyes. "Mom always does that," he said. "Acts like she's part of conversations that are way past her time." I lowered my gaze to my napkin, tracing the stitched edges with my fingers. When the waiter refilled my water, he smiled politely at me, and for a brief second I felt more seen by a stranger than by my own blood. Donna leaned closer to Johnny and said in a sharp whisper that was never meant to be truly quiet, "She should have stayed home." "She slows everything down," Tyler chimed in. "Yeah, and she keeps asking questions. Just let us eat, Grandma." Something heavy settled in my chest, but I forced myself not to flinch. I kept hearing their voices as if through a tunnel, clipped, irritated, impatient, each word pushing me further into a corner of my own birthday. When the plates from the main course were cleared, I thought maybe, just maybe, dessert would bring a softening. Birthdays came with cakes, candles, some shred of affection, even in the most strained families. I held on to that thin hope. But when the waiter approached with a small plate in his hand, no one looked at me. Donna scrolled through her phone. Tyler filmed the chocolate fountain behind us. Johnny checked his watch. Not a single eye turned my way. The waiter stopped beside me and said, "Ma'am, your dessert will be right out. But before that, may I ask you something?" His tone was gentle. My family finally looked up, but only because he had paused the flow of their conversation. The waiter held up a card between his fingers. "Ma'am, is this your card?" The moment he asked it, Johnny sat straighter, Donna's lips parted, and Tyler finally pulled out an earbud. Their faces shifted, not with concern, but with something sharper, something I could not name yet. My pulse picked up. The card glinted under the light, and although I could not see it clearly from where I sat, I felt, with a strange chill, that nothing about this birthday was accidental. The question hung in the air like a match, ready to ignite everything around it. And then I understood. Whatever had been brewing between them all night was now beginning to surface. The card was the first crack in the veneer, the first signal that the cruelty I sensed was not random but part of something larger, something meant for me. People often assume hatred arrives because of something someone has done, But the truth I learned over the years is that some people hate you simply because it is easier than facing the parts of themselves they cannot bear to look at. When I look back, I can see exactly when Donna's resentment began, long before she felt bold enough to treat me the way she did at that birthday dinner. It started the day she realized the town of Fairhope loved me in a way she believed she deserved. I never asked for praise, but back in 1983, when a hurricane tore through Alabama and left our small community wounded and half-drowned, I was the head nurse on duty. I waded through chest-high water to reach trapped patients, performed CPR on a porch while lightning split the sky, and helped save 14 lives in one night. The town gave me an award, a plaque I kept tucked in a drawer because I did not need applause to do my job. But Donna never forgot it. Once, when she thought I could not hear her, she muttered to Johnny, "Everyone still talks about her. When will people see what I do? When will someone praise me the way they praised her?" Her jealousy did not grow from anything I claimed, but from the space my kindness occupied in the minds of others. Johnny's resentment came from somewhere stranger, deeper, and sadder. After my husband died in a mill accident in 1987, I raised Johnny alone, working night shifts, double shifts, whatever shifts were needed, to keep him fed and safe. People called me strong. They told Johnny he had a strong mother. But instead of pride, those words planted something like shame in him. As a boy, he felt overshadowed by my resilience. And as a man, he twisted that into a belief that my strength made him look weak. He once told Donna, "She survived everything. I cannot live up to that. Everyone expects me to be like her." Donna stroked that insecurity like a cat she wanted to keep purring. Over time, Johnny stopped seeing my sacrifices as love. He saw them as expectations he could never meet. Their cruelty intensified when money entered the picture. The house I lived in belonged to my husband's family, passed down for 3 generations. I kept it standing through storms, termites, and a decade of repairs that I paid for by working overtime in the ER. But as soon as housing prices shot up, Johnny and Donna suddenly saw the house as an investment, not a home. They cornered me one afternoon and said, "It is time you let go of the past. Sell the house while it is worth something." When I refused, they exchanged a look thick with resentment. Donna said, "You are old, Rebecca. You do not need this house. We do." They never asked what I needed. They only cared about what I could hand over. Their excuses multiplied when Donna felt embarrassed by me. She had reinvented herself after her second bankruptcy, pretending she had always been part of a polished, sophisticated circle. Meanwhile, I still wore the clothing my generation grew up with: simple dresses, old quilted jackets, shoes that lasted longer than trends. Donna once hissed to her sister on the phone, "She makes us look cheap. Her outfits scream small town." The irony was almost laughable. Donna, who spent recklessly, who ruined their credit twice, who filled closets with clothes she could not afford, was ashamed of me because I chose durability over pretense. The double standard became impossible to ignore. She called me unworthy of the family name, even though she was the one who drained bank accounts, borrowed money she never repaid, and looked down on others while standing on financial sand. But the deepest wound came from something I once believed bonded us forever. 17 years ago, Donna went into labor 2 months early. I was the nurse on call that night. I held her trembling hand, coached her breathing, and stabilized the baby when his lungs struggled to expand. She cried and thanked me over and over. For a moment, I thought we would share something sacred, but gratitude, in her world, had an expiration date. When she realized the doctors praised me more than Johnny for helping save her son, the resentment bloomed like mold in the dark. She forgot I had been the one to keep her alive. Instead, she clung to the idea that I stole her spotlight, stole her thanks, stole the admiration she believed belonged to her. It did not matter that I never once mentioned that night afterward. It did not matter that I never asked for recognition. What mattered to Donna was that the world remembered me fondly, and to her, that was unforgivable. By the time my birthday dinner arrived, their bitterness had fermented into something sharp and poisonous. In their minds, I was no longer a mother, or a grandmother, or a woman who had poured her life into theirs. I was an obstacle, a reminder of their shortcomings, a house they wanted to sell, a history they wanted erased, and all of that hatred, all of that insecurity, All of that greed was about to surface, starting with a simple question from a waiter holding a mysterious card. I learned later that nothing happening at that birthday dinner was spontaneous. The cold shoulders, the whispering, the strange stiffness in Johnny's voice, it had all been rehearsed long before I ever walked through the doors of that restaurant. At the time, I only sensed something was wrong, something coordinated, but I had no idea how carefully they had been plotting behind my back. Now, when I look back, I can see the fingerprints of their scheme on nearly every moment leading up to that night. For almost 2 months, Donna had been orchestrating a plan to remove me from my own life. She chose the restaurant herself, insisting it was special enough for my birthday, but the truth was simpler and darker. She picked it because she had learned they required legal identification for certain dessert orders that involved age verification. She wanted a scenario where a waiter could naturally ask for my ID so she could claim I seemed confused or disoriented. Confusion was a weapon for her, a way to paint me as incompetent. She practiced her lines in front of the bathroom mirror. Johnny overheard her once and simply nodded in approval. Donna also created a small envelope she planned to slip in front of me at dessert. The envelope looked innocent enough, cream-colored, folded neatly, tucked into the inner flap of the dessert menu. But inside was something called a cognitive consent transfer form. It sounded harmless. It was not. If I signed it, even with a shaky signature, even with a momentary misplacement of my glasses, it would legally give Johnny temporary control of my finances and medical decisions. Temporary always becomes permanent when greed is involved. The form was written in small print, nearly invisible in low lighting. They expected me to struggle, hesitate, squint. They expected that hesitation to make me look weak. They wanted witnesses, other diners, waiters, anyone who might nod silently and think, "She is slipping." I had never imagined the people I loved would design a trap for me as if I were an animal they wanted to cage. Donna even hired someone she introduced as a family doctor, though later I discovered he was not licensed at all. He was a retired chiropractor she had met at a gym, a man whose only qualification was his ability to wear a white coat convincingly. She coached him to approach the table after dessert and say something like, "Mrs. Rebecca, are you feeling all right tonight?" And then turn to Johnny and Donna with a grave expression, suggesting that I might need evaluation. They intended to force concern where none existed. It was the medical version of planting a story. All they needed was one nod from a so-called professional to begin a formal challenge of my competency. Johnny, for his part, was motivated by something simple: money. The house he grew up in had become the one thing he believed he deserved without earning. For weeks he had been calculating potential sale prices, telling Donna, "The sooner we get her into a facility, the sooner we can liquidate everything." He said the word facility with a coldness that still chills me when I replay it in my mind. Not home, not care. Facility, somewhere to store me until the paperwork cleared. Tyler contributed in a different kind of cruelty, the kind born from the age of social media. He wanted attention, validation, a viral moment. I had seen him recording me secretly before, catching me in moments where my joints stiffened or I misheard something. He even joked once, "If Grandma slips up at the restaurant, maybe it will hit 1,000,000 views." He imagined fame, a spotlight, a wave of online laughter aimed at the woman who once rocked him to sleep while his parents fought in the next room. He told a friend on the phone, "Old people are internet gold. Everyone loves seeing them mess up." He had no idea how those words sliced into me. They all met in the living room weeks before the dinner, holding coffee mugs as if discussing weekend plans. Donna laid out the steps like a business strategy. Tyler offered camera angles. Johnny handled the legal pieces, reading the form aloud as if he were describing a harmless recipe. "We just need one moment," he said. "One slip. One sign she is not all there," Donna added. "And she will sign if we put enough pressure on her. She hates conflict. She will fold." Tyler snickered. "I hope she folds on camera." What none of them realized was that cruelty looks organized when spoken out loud, but real life often refuses to follow scripts. They believed they had thought of everything. They believed they were smarter than me. They believed age made me blind to betrayal. They did not know that the night they planned so meticulously would unravel with a single question from a stranger, a waiter holding a card that did not belong to me. A card that exposed every lie they had prepared. And they certainly did not know that the doctor they hired to act on their behalf would be overshadowed by one they never expected, the real one. But that part was still ahead of me. All I knew as dessert approached was that a performance was underway, and I was the only one who had not been given a script. Dessert had barely reached the table when the waiter approached, holding a small laminated card between two fingers, as if afraid it might blow away. His expression was polite but concerned, the kind of look people give when they believe they are about to embarrass someone gently. This restaurant occasionally verifies medical restrictions when guests order desserts involving alcohol substitutes or allergy-related ingredients. "Ma'am," he said, leaning toward me, "is this your card?" It was handed to us to verify a medical authorization. "For you." My heart dropped. I had never seen that card in my life. Before I could speak, Donna lunged forward so fast her chair scraped across the floor. Yes, that is hers," she said loudly, performing for the room. "She signed it earlier today. Mom, do you not remember?" Her voice was syrup sweet with poison beneath it. Johnny slammed his napkin onto the table. "This is exactly what we have been trying to tell people," he shouted, loud enough for nearby tables to turn. "She does not remember signing anything anymore. This is the third time this month." He looked around, building momentum from the attention. "Everyone can see it now. She is slipping." The entire restaurant seemed to fall silent in a single breath. People turned fully in their seats, their eyes heavy with pity, the kind that cuts deeper than cruelty. I felt myself shrinking, my fingers trembling against the edge of the table. I have never seen this card before," I whispered. "I have not signed anything today." "That is a lie," Donna snapped. "You misplaced it. That is all. You need to stop pretending you are fine. This is embarrassing." He kept his phone dimmed and angled low, something he had practiced after months of secretly recording people for jokes. Tyler, without shame, lifted his phone slightly under the table. Recording. He kept the screen dimmed and angled down, practiced after months of filming people without them noticing. "Guys, she literally does not remember," he whispered to the camera, voice dripping with mock shock. "This is unreal." The waiter looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, the signature on the card, are you sure it is not yours?" He tilted the card, revealing a looping, elegant signature. "Rebecca Hartwell," written in a style I had abandoned decades ago because arthritis reshaped my hands. The signature shimmered under the lights, crisp and youthful, a version of me frozen in the past. "That is not how I sign anymore," I said quietly. "I cannot write like that now." Johnny scoffed loudly. "Oh, come on, Mom. You expect us to believe you forgot your own handwriting too?" His words were blades, each one sharpened with months of resentment. Donna folded her arms triumphantly. "Just admit, you are confused. It is okay. It happens at your age." Her tone made something inside me crack, not anger yet, but a trembling that felt dangerously close. The waiter frowned, lifting the card closer to his eyes. "Actually," he said slowly, "this signature looks familiar. I have seen it before." His brows drew together. "Yes, I recognize it." A hush fell over our table. Donna's jaw tightened. Johnny's eyes darted to hers, searching for reassurance. Tyler lowered his phone an inch, but kept recording. The waiter inhaled slowly. "Ma'am," he said, addressing me now with genuine concern, "did you authorize this card at all? Because something here is not consistent." Before I could respond, Donna slammed her palm onto the table, rattling the silverware. "Stop asking her. She does not know what she is talking about. She is confused. This is exactly why we need to take control of her affairs. She is a danger to herself. Honestly, she should not even live alone anymore." Her voice rose, shrill and dramatic, but the performance was beginning to unravel. People stared not at me this time, but at her. Johnny jumped in, desperate to regain control. "Look, she is shaking," he said, pointing at my trembling hands. "See? She cannot even recognize her own card. That proves she needs us to handle things." But the waiter stepped back. "Firm now." "Sir, With all due respect, I am not comfortable with this. Something is not right. His skepticism landed like a spark in a dry forest. The room shifted. The mask Donna had worn so proudly began to crack, not because I defended myself, but because their lie had collided with a truth they had not anticipated. The truth was simple. A forged signature never hides perfectly, and this one, stolen from the past, was about to expose far more than they intended. Just as the waiter's doubt began to spread across the room like a quiet ripple, a voice rose from a nearby table, steady, firm, unmistakably authoritative. "Excuse me," the man said, standing slowly. "May I see that card?" I turned, and for a moment my breath stalled. Dr. Benjamin Turner. I had not seen him in nearly 40 years. He had been a gawky, shy 10th grader terrified of needles, and I was the school nurse who taught him how to steady his hands, how to breathe through panic, how to care for others even when fear tried to choke him. He grew up to become one of Alabama's most respected geriatric physicians. Tonight, he was here, at the same restaurant, at the moment my family was trying to erase me. The waiter handed him the card. Dr. Turner studied it only a few seconds before his eyebrows shot upward. "This is impossible," he murmured, then raised his voice so the entire restaurant could hear. "This is my signature." Silence struck the room like a bell. Donna's fork clattered against her plate. Johnny froze mid-breath. Tyler's phone shook as he lowered it slowly, unsure whether to keep recording or run. "Doctor." Turner stepped closer to our table, holding the card between two fingers, his face tight with controlled anger. "This signature," he said, tapping it, "was lifted directly from the medical clearance form I signed for Miss Rebecca 9 years ago. It is identical, down to the pressure points." He looked directly at me, then kind, steady, protective. "And Miss Rebecca has never shown a single sign of cognitive decline. In fact, she scored above average on her last evaluation." A murmur rippled through the room. Donna's face twisted, panic clawing at her composure. "You must be mistaken," she said quickly. "Maybe you forgot signing this for her today. She's been confused, you know." Dr. Turner turned on her with a stare so sharp it could peel paint. "I do not forget when my signature is stolen." The waiter looked between them, unsure whom to believe. But the room, every pair of eyes, was now trained on Donna and Johnny. Johnny, desperate, forced a laugh that echoed hollow. "Good grief, Doc, you're making a scene. She probably signed it while confused people saw her shaking earlier." "Enough," Dr. Turner said, raising his hand. "I know this woman better than you think." He pointed to the forged card. "This was not signed today. It was fabricated. And whoever did it committed medical fraud." Gasps fluttered through the air. Donna's voice cracked as she tried again. "This is all misunderstanding. She's been acting strange for months." "Lies," Dr. Turner said, calm but razor sharp. "Miss Rebecca's mental clarity is better than half the people in this room." He turned slightly. "Including you, apparently." A few diners laughed under their breath. Donna's cheeks flushed crimson. I sat frozen, watching the people who claimed to love me fumble for excuses as their plan unraveled. Dr. Turner took a step closer, lowering his voice just enough that only our table heard. "And to be clear," he said, "any attempt to force an elderly person to sign guardianship documents under false medical pretenses is a prosecutable offense." Donna's hand jerked back, as if she had touched fire. Johnny swallowed hard, his confidence crumbling. We were just trying to help her," he whispered weakly. "No," Dr. Turner said, shaking his head. "You were trying to control her, strip her autonomy, and you thought no one would notice." Tyler, who had been silent until now, attempted a joke. "Okay, but do we really need the whole place listening?" "Put the phone down, son," Dr. Turner said, eyes narrowing. Tyler obeyed instantly. He turned his attention back to the table, his gaze softening only when it reached me. "Miss Rebecca," he said gently, "did you authorize this card? Did you sign anything today agreeing to transfer your decision-making rights?" "No," I said firmly, my voice steadier than it had been all night. "I did not." He nodded. "Then that is all we need to know." Donna's breath hitched. "Wait, this isn't look. We just wanted her safe. She falls, she forgets. That woman," Dr. Turner said, pointing at me, "remembered every detail of my panic attack before my medical boards. She remembered every birth date of every student she cared for. She remembered the names of my twins when I brought them to see her as infants. His voice rose. She remembers everything except the children who no longer remember her. The room stopped breathing. It was the first time I saw Donna's confidence collapse. Truly collapse. Johnny opened his mouth, but only a weak croak escaped. Dr. Turner lifted the forged card for the entire room to see. "This," he said, "is a crime, and it ends tonight." And in that moment, for the first time in years, I felt something I thought I had lost forever. Someone stood up for me. The moment Dr. Turner finished speaking, the restaurant fell into a tense, electric silence until a sudden alert tone chimed from a phone. Then another, and another. Heads lifted, screens lit, whispers rippled outward like a fast-moving tide. A woman at the bar frowned and held up her phone. Is that the kid from your table?" My stomach dropped. Tyler. He had been recording earlier, but I hoped he had stopped. Instead, he had gone live. And now, the live stream was exploding across social media. Dozens of guests began watching the feed right in front of us. "Holy hell," someone muttered. "This boy is laughing at her. At an elderly woman. This is elder abuse," another said sharply. "That family is sick." I turned to Tyler. His face drained of color as the numbers climbed on the screen. 5,200 viewers. 8,400. 12,000. Comments scrolled so fast they blurred. "How dare you talk about your grandmother like that? You're recording her humiliation? Disgusting. Protect that woman at the table now. This is why elder abuse laws exist." Tyler's hands shook. "It was just a stupid live stream." "No," Dr. Turner said coldly. "It was evidence." Tyler panicked, trying to end the stream, but the comments kept flooding. "Cops better be on the way. This family is trying to steal from her. Save Miss Rebecca." I had never seen my grandson scared before. Not truly scared. But tonight, his teenage invincibility shattered in front of me. Donna lunged toward him. "You idiot! How could you broadcast everything? You told me it would be funny." Tyler snapped, voice cracking. "You said it would get views." "You did what?" Someone from another table shouted. The restaurant erupted into outrage. People pointed, some filmed, others demanded the manager step in. Tyler, choking on panic, whispered, "Grandma, please say something. Please say, it was just a misunderstanding." But for the first time in my life, I did not step in to protect him. Not from this. Not from the consequences he earned with his own hands. I folded my trembling ones in my lap and remained silent. Tyler's breath shook as he stared at me, realizing the truth. This time, I would not save him. The restaurant manager hurried through the crowd. "I've contacted local authorities," he said firmly. "This situation involves forgery and suspected elder coercion. We are required to report it." Donna's face twisted. "You called the police? For her? She's old. She doesn't know what she's saying." That was the final spark. The doors burst open. 2 officers stepped inside. "Police," one announced. "We received multiple reports of elder abuse, attempted fraud, and illegal acquisition of guardianship documents." Donna shrieked, "This is a family matter. We were only trying to do what's best for her." The officer turned calmly toward her. "Ma'am, you just admitted intent to interfere with an elder's legal autonomy." "That's not what I said." "Oh, it is," another diner said, "and I have it all recorded." Phones lifted across the room like an orchard of glowing fruit. Donna lunged toward the officer. "We're her family. We deserve that house. She doesn't even use all the rooms she doesn't need it." A collective gasp spread across the restaurant. Johnny tried to pull her back. "Shut up, Donna, for God's sake." "No!" she screamed. "I'm tired of pretending. She hoards everything, memories, old junk, and that stupid house. She clings to the past like it's some trophy. And if she would just die already, we could move on." Her words sliced through the air, sharp enough to silence even the clattering dishes in the kitchen. Johnny looked horrified. Tyler stared at his mother like she was someone he had never met. The officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, put your hands behind your back." Donna stumbled backward. "What? Wait, no. She's lying." The old woman is confused. She's always confused. The officer did not raise his voice. The only confusion here is yours, ma'am. You believed this behavior would go unpunished. She fought, but the officers restrained her quickly. As they pulled her hands into cuffs, she screeched, "She ruined our lives. She's worthless. She should have stayed gone after her husband died." My chest tightened. I had suspected for years that Donna resented me, but hearing the full ugliness, spoken without restraint, was something else entirely. Johnny stepped backward, shaking, now alone without his wife's bravado. All eyes turned to him. The officer addressed him calmly. "Sir, we will need to ask you a series of questions regarding your involvement." Johnny's voice collapsed into a whisper. I didn't think it would go this far." "It always goes this far," Dr. Turner said quietly, "when cruelty becomes habit." As Donna was led outside, kicking and screaming, Dr. Turner inhaled deeply and turned to the officer. "Before you finish here, there is something I need to say. Something that matters." His gaze softened as it settled on me. "This woman," he began, voice carrying across the entire restaurant, "saved more lives than any of us could count. Some of you may know that she was a decorated nurse during the 1983 hurricane, but you don't know the whole story." Donna, mid-struggle near the door, froze. Johnny lifted his eyes. Even Tyler stopped trembling. Dr. Turner continued, 17 years ago, when my wife went into premature labor, it was Miss Rebecca who kept her alive until the ambulance arrived. She worked for 40 minutes to stabilize her while the storm knocked out the phones. My wife and my daughter would have died that night without her. A hush fell over the room. Warm, heavy, reverent. My hands began to shake, not from fear, but from memory. I remembered that night. I remembered the panic, the storm, the slipping heartbeat beneath my palms. I had never told the story. I never expected recognition. But Dr. Turner's voice trembled as he spoke. She became a hero in our home. My children grew up calling her Aunt Rebecca. My wife said she owed her life to her. He swallowed. I owe my entire world to her. Gasps, murmurs, soft tears filled the room. Donna stopped fighting against the police officers, her face stretched with disbelief. "I hated her for years," Donna whispered, shaken. "And she saved your wife?" Dr. Turner nodded. "And do you know the cruelest part?" he added, glancing at her. "You benefited from that too, because the obstetrician who treated your complicated pregnancy was the very doctor who learned emergency protocols from her case." Donna crumpled. Johnny leaned heavily against a chair, as if the ground beneath him could no longer be trusted. Tyler stared at me, eyes wide with guilt, the first hint of humanity softening the arrogance in his face. For the first time all evening, I felt the room shift not away from me, but toward me. Dr. Turner placed a steady hand on my shoulder. "And while you abandoned her," he told my family, "she never once spoke an unkind word about you. Not once." A woman nearby sniffed loudly. Another man shook his head at my family with open contempt. The officer finally spoke. "We will continue our investigation. Miss Rebecca, you may decide whether to press charges, and we will ensure your safety from this point on." I breathed out slowly, the weight of decades lifting in the space of a single moment. Donna was escorted through the door, stunned into silence. Johnny followed, hands shaking. Tyler trailed behind them, his live stream still echoing through the phones of half the restaurant. And I, an old woman who had spent years disappearing inside her own family, sat upright, feeling visible for the first time in far too long. The truth had come out, and it saved me. For a long moment, after Donna, Johnny, and Tyler were escorted toward the entrance, the restaurant was thick with stunned silence. Every eye remained on me, not in pity, not in mockery, but in a quiet, reverent suspense. "Doctor," Turner squeezed my shoulder gently before stepping aside, giving me room. Because now, everyone sensed it. The night was not over. Not for them. Not for me. Not for the truth they had tried so hard to bury. I rose slowly, not with trembling weakness, but with the steadiness of a woman who had been preparing for this exact moment far longer than anyone knew. I felt the strength in my spine return, the one they tried to bend for years. "Ma'am," one of the officers said softly, You don't need to speak if you don't want to. But I did. I needed to. My family turned back toward me, Donna, with wild, cornered eyes, Johnny pale and sweating, Tyler frozen like a child caught stealing. I took one breath and spoke clearly enough for the whole restaurant to hear. You keep saying you want what's best for me, I said, my voice calm, level. But what you really want is what you think belongs to you. Donna scoffed, trying to gather shards of dignity. Please. We know what you have. We know what that house is worth. We were trying to manage your affairs before you. Before I what? I asked. Before I became inconvenient? Her jaw clenched. Good. I stepped forward one pace. There is something you should all know. Something I chose not to share until the day you forced my hand. Johnny narrowed his eyes. Mom, what are you talking about? You believe, I continued quietly, that everything I own still belongs to me. That I am a vulnerable, confused old woman clinging to assets you think you're owed. Tyler swallowed hard. Aren't you? A soft laugh escaped me, not cruel, but tired. Tired of the years of blindness in front of me. No, I said. Not anymore. And not for a very long time. Donna's breath hitched. What do you mean? I lifted my chin. 3 years ago, after a dear friend of mine was tricked into signing away her home to her own children, I created an irrevocable trust. Shock rippled across my family's faces. I continued, savoring the clarity of the moment. Nothing is in my name. Not the ancestral home, not the savings accounts, not the land parcel the government evaluated last year. Everything is under that trust, a trust managed by a law firm, not by me, and certainly not by any of you. Johnny staggered as if I had struck him. Why would you do that? Why would you hide that from us? Because, I said, you showed me long before this night that you could not be trusted with even my heart, much less my future. Donna shook her head violently. You are lying. That house is yours. You've lived there for decades. You can't just... Oh, I can, I said. And I did. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed against a chair, breath ragged. I continued, voice unwavering. And even if I wanted to give you anything... I paused, letting the silence sharpen. You would still receive nothing. Because by law, attempting to coerce or defraud an elder disqualifies you from inheritance. The officer nodded beside me. She is correct. Alabama elder protection law is very clear. Johnny grabbed the back of a chair, sweating. Mom! Mother! You don't understand. I needed that house. The bank is expecting. The fake documents you submitted? I asked softly. His eyes shot open wide. And yes, I added, the authorities will be informed. Elder fraud? Forgery? Mortgage misrepresentation? Those charges stick, Johnny. He shook his head like a man drowning. You would really let them take me to jail? You walked yourself there, I replied. I simply stepped out of the way. Tyler tugged at his jacket, voice cracking. Grandma, please, you know I didn't mean any harm. You humiliated me for entertainment, I said. And you humiliated yourself. I did not do that to you. He looked ready to break. The school already saw your live stream. An older man at a nearby table murmured, My niece goes there. They're not taking this lightly. Tyler's face collapsed into panic. I nodded. You will face consequences, Tyler. I will not shield you. Not this time. Then I turned back to Donna. She sat, slumped, makeup streaked, fury trembling beneath her skin. Do you know what hurts most? I asked gently. I saved your life once. I expected nothing in return. And still you repaid me with hatred. Donna couldn't meet my eyes. I stepped forward slowly, the weight of years finally lifting. My voice did not tremble. It didn't need to. Let me make something very clear to all of you, I said. Everything you fought over tonight never belonged to you. Donna sobbed, loud, broken, furious. Johnny choked something between a plea and a curse. Tyler stared at the floor, his reflection flickering in the screens of a dozen bystanders filming the final collapse. I inhaled deeply. And that, I said softly, is the end of what you believed you could take from me. The officers moved in, then one to speak quietly with Johnny, one to escort Donna outside, one to ask Tyler for identification. Dr. Turner remained beside me, steady as a lighthouse. For the first time in years, I did not feel small. I did not feel invisible. I felt free. The restaurant watched as my ungrateful family was led away, one in cuffs, one questioned for fraud, one trembling at the consequences awaiting him at school and beyond. It wasn't vengeance. It was balance. It was truth finally settling into place. When the last of them disappeared through the door, Dr. Turner turned to me with gentle eyes. "You did the right thing, Miss Rebecca." "I know," I said, "and this time, I did it for myself." My voice felt whole again. My heart felt steady, and the night, my night, finally belonged to me. In the days that followed, I learned something unexpected. The world had been watching. The restaurant manager, shaken by what he witnessed, released a public statement praising the staff member who questioned the forged card and expressing support for me. Someone at another table had uploaded a video of the entire confrontation, and to my surprise, it spread across Alabama by morning. For the first time in a very long